Record-breaking credit card debt doesn't look like a crisis. It looks like ordinary life. It looks like people tapping a card at the grocery store. It looks like a family filling their gas tank and hoping it lasts the week. It looks normal because the system needs it to look normal. If it didn't, and too many people would start asking questions. The truth is uncomfortable. Most Americans aren't drowning in debt because they're irresponsible. They're drowning because the financial structure they live inside quietly nudges them toward dependence. And once you rely on revolving credit to survive, the system stops being an inconvenience and becomes a trap. Not loud, not dramatic, slow, silent, relentless. Every crisis begins the moment people stop recognizing it as a crisis. When debt becomes so common that no one questions it anymore, danger hides in plain sight. Inflation rises faster than wages, expenses creep upward, and suddenly credit cards aren't for wants. They're for needs. They become the buffer that savings used to be. They fill the gap that incomes no longer cover. They take the hit when life gets more expensive. And because everyone around you is doing the same thing, it doesn't feel like a warning sign. It feels like reality. But the moment you start depending on a card, the rules change. Because credit cards were never built to help you. They were built to hook you. Revolving debt is one of the most profitable inventions ever created. The minimum payment isn't a courtesy. It's bait. Pay just $40 this month. Sounds easy, right? But that small, painless decision transforms a $2,000 balance into years of interest payments. The banks don't want you to default. They want you to float, forever, paying enough to stay alive, but not enough to get free. People think they overspend because they're weak. But overspending is baked into the design. Credit disconnects spending from emotion. When you hand someone cash, you feel the loss instantly. When you swipe a card, nothing inside you flinches. That delay is the psychological weapon that makes credit so effective. You're not addicted to buying. You're addicted to not feeling the cost. This is why interest thrives. It feeds on the gap between impulse and consequence. Interest itself is the real villain of the story. It isn't just a fee. It's financial gravity. Once it grabs you, it drags your future towards someone else's profit column. At 20% or 30% APR, even small balances explode into lifelong burdens. You climb, and interest pulls you back. You make payments, and the balance barely moves. You try harder, and the debt keeps growing. It's not a lack of discipline. It's mathematical quicksand. And the cruelest part? The poorer you are, the more expensive your debt becomes. The system doesn't just trap the vulnerable, it punishes them. Lower income means lower limits and higher interest rates. One late payment triggers penalty APRs that would make a loan shark blush. Bad credit becomes both the cause and the effect of the crisis. Struggling people pay more for the same dollars wealthy people borrow cheaply. The rich are rewarded for their stability, while the rest are penalized for their survival. Meanwhile, the wealthy play an entirely different game with the same tools. They use credit, but they never need it. They pay off their balances monthly, so interest never touches them. They treat credit as leverage, not life support. They earn points while others pay fees. They use credit cards as a financial weapon, not as a financial crutch. And because they don't live in survival mode, they never fall into the traps engineered for those who do. When an entire nation relies on credit to bridge the gap between income and expenses, the crisis stops being personal. It becomes systemic. Rising delinquency rates signal fragility at every level. If millions of people fall behind, the effects ripple outward. Lower spending, weakened businesses, job losses, shrinking economic growth. Consumer spending drives the American economy, and credit is the engine behind that spending. If the engine cracks, everything shakes. This is why record credit card debt isn't just a statistic. It's a national time bomb. But escaping the blast zone doesn't start with complex financial strategies. It starts with power. More specifically, reclaiming it. The moment you reduce your dependence on revolving credit, even slightly, the system's grip loosens. Every dollar paid above the minimum breaks the cycle. Every step toward a small emergency fund weakens the psychological leash. Every effort to cut high-interest balances reverses the direction of compounding. People think escaping debt is about math. It's not. It's about momentum. It's about shifting from a position of constant reaction to one of gradual control. When you stop playing the role the system expects from you, your financial future stops belonging to someone else. Record credit card debt didn't happen because millions of people made millions of bad decisions. It happened because the structure is built to extract wealth from those who live close to the edge. It happened because debt was normalized. Because the system profits when you owe. Because you were never meant to feel free inside a machine built on interest. But once you see the mechanics, once you understand the psychological tricks, the compounding traps, the inequality buried inside every APR, you can no longer be controlled by them. Debt was never supposed to feel normal. The only reason it does is because the system needs it that way. The moment you see the trap clearly, something inside you changes. You stop being predictable. You stop being profitable. You stop being fuel for someone else's financial engine. And that moment, quiet, internal, invisible, is the first real step out of a crisis almost no one escapes.